So we're heading into our tropical garden. These plants, they're a mix of some native Florida plants, some plants that are maybe native to Florida, but they're native a little bit further down, further south, because we're here in Tallahassee, and so we have a growing zone that's different than the rest of the state. But this vine pathway is really beautiful, and it's really cool in here. And then we have our yarrow, which is a native plant that is just flowered for the season. Our big firebush, and if you can believe it, this firebush shrunk all the way down to the ground this year, and it's already 6 feet tall and wide and flowering. This golden dewdrop is really beautiful. It puts out these really pretty purple flowers, and then the fruit on it is this like bright yellow color, and you'll see there's a skipper flying around here pollinating. We also have our roses. There's roses in other parts of the garden, but this is Bill's roses. Really beautiful. And so this year we had a pretty good freeze. So the majority of these plants went right back down to the ground this year. But now they're back in August and they're blooming. I think they're blooming a little bit later than they have in the past few years because they have had to catch up. You can see where we cut back the dead growth here on this jatropha. We also have this porterweed. It's a big pollinator attractor. This chase tree, one of my favorites here in the garden. And that's a purple flower. And the leaves almost smell like lavender. Up here we've got some different species. You can see a zebra longwing here flying around. And those zebra longwings are happy to be here because we've got passion vine growing all sorts of places. Some cannas. This is a caliandra. It puts out really pretty little kind of puffs of flowers. Here you are. And when you see a bee in them, it looks like the bee is just getting overwhelmed by the flower. So we expect that to keep flowering throughout the year. And up here is a little rain garden of sorts. So our wildlife pond drains down here. You can see the path, and it goes right to this swamp mallow. And then you can see these big, I believe that's solidago. So we'll see. That might move next year because it's pretty big. You can see we also have a dog fennel that volunteered. So we might have to cut back some plants next year. And then heading back down, we've got our bananas down here. It's kind of on the edge of our tropical / vegetable garden, which starts here at these beds. We'll make another video on those. And about 18 months ago, we had this big century plant bloom. And so this plant is dying, the mother plant. Don't worry, we got plenty of pups on it. And it has reproduced and it has flowered and seeded. And we've got a couple of weeds in here, but that's okay. We're working our way through it. It's the hottest part of the year, so it's hot for humans just like animals. Ooh, look at what we have here. So we often don't think of ants as pollinators, but they can be, and sometimes they can even protect plants. So oftentimes you might see this with passion vine, where ants will go up the passion vine and they'll get nectar from the extra floral nectaries, and they will eat any caterpillars that try to form there, kind of as a twofer. It's what the plant wants because it doesn't want to get eaten. But yeah, it's beautiful. So here we've got another Jatropha starting to flower, and this one is probably twice the size last year, but it's a little bit shorter because, again, it did freeze. And then we started putting in some wildflowers over on this side just to encourage our pollinator partnership here. There's our Stokes Aster, some Gaillardia, a real mix. So this was just a riot of color a couple weeks ago. Right now it's mostly Gaillardia left flowering. The other plants are still there, but they're kind of quiet for the season. A little bit of Coreopsis, some more Stokes Aster. And I believe this is a mullein plant, this nice tall guy. And then here we have our row of irises. And so those were planted this year. We'll see how many come up next year. And here's our little plot of full sun perennial peanut outside of our bird houses. These are for bluebirds. And so all these things we have on here to prevent predation from snakes or from hawks, so the bluebirds make it to maturity. Here's a nice big Japanese magnolia, and that will bloom early in the season, probably about February, around about Valentine's Day, maybe a little earlier. But that's our tropical garden. Here we are back at our beautiful vines. And there's just so many to see. Come on out and visit us.